Welcome back to some more Create Integrated. Now, throughout my entire Create Integrated playthrough, I have tried my best to, well, show off as many cool mods and features that exist in this mod pack as possible. But just recently, a new feature, a new mod was added, and that's Create Steam and Rails. And so last episode, I set out to automate all of the casings and everything that we were going to need to move forward. And also Rails and monorails. And the monorails specifically gave me an incredible idea, because the way that these work are kind of awesome. They are like bendy tracks that you can place up on in the sky, basically. And instead of the bogie going on top like a normal train from Create, well, it goes on the bottom of this. And all of that has led me to an idea. I wanted to build a monorail station, and that's why all of these things are automated behind us, well, in what is essentially going to be the station that I'm going to have to build today. But that's only going to be part one of today's episode, because I also want to get the monorail track laid out, and that is going to be a challenge in itself, as I want this to pass through buildings. Like, I want to have a monorail area that passes through here, and have the monorail run along like many of our sort of girder structures that we have, and just sort of lead this, if I can, like maybe even through this roof area, where we can have a monorail train cart that kind of shows off everything that we've done so far in a loop. But you know what? Before we get to monorail planning and designing, we should probably build the monorail station. And so, I think it's time to cue that funky time-lapse music. At the moment, it may not look like a train station just yet, but there's still a lot of work that I have planned. So, for example, in the back, this is actually where the monorail track is supposed to go. And so we'll have something that wraps around, and this is going to funnel like a one-way track through. And the thing that we're going to set in isn't going to be very big and should be able to fit right within here. The cool part is because it's a monorail track, we're not going to have like your typical like track area where you would have like the rails a little bit lower. Instead, this is going to be something that floats above the ground. So what we're going to want is scaffold that allows us to enter possibly through these positions here. Because I have like infrastructure in here that's actually running, it does make this a little bit more tight, but that just means we got to come up with a little bit more creative solutions to how we plan on getting around. You know what? Let's go ahead and start working on the back area. I've added in the girders that are going to wrap around, and this will give me the foundation, and I want this to be right here in the center, which means we are going to need the monorail track to start here, and I want the monorail track to continue all the way over here. That is kind of cool looking. Now, the upper railing and support beams, I do want to come up with a more creative solution to connecting it, but as of right now, that is awesome. This is technically a train track. After a little bit of design work, hear me out, I'm not quite there, but we're getting somewhere. So I added a little waiting area right over here, and then I've got my catwalk that I was just talking about, and these are all of the entry points that allow us to get out here. Of course, you don't want to be walking through the pathway of the monorail, but this is the point at which I want to start designing the actual monorail train, or monorail. Is it even a train? Now, this is where the fun part comes into play. So we actually get to start placing trains. To be able to make this train, I need a train station, and we link it basically the same way, except it kind of goes on top here. Now, I was looking at reference images of like monorail trains, which they're very weird in how they function, but one thing I did notice is the bogie position is usually a little bit away from the front, just ever so slightly. So we'd have like 3 blocks of like front space, and then we would probably have this bogie. So I think I'm going to line the sort of bogie position right about here, and that is where this actual track is going to be placed. And then right here, I can place down the actual train station. And this is where we do all of the fancy work. So I need to click the create train button, and this tells me where that bogie needs to go. And when I say bogie, well, I technically mean train casing, because that is where the bogie, this is actually what creates the train in the first place, just like so. Now, my idea and design philosophy on this is that we have this centralized bogie. I'm going to go 4 blocks in front and 4 blocks behind the bogie, and this is going to be my working space for this bogie. And if I was to add another train car, I think what I'll do is I will leave a 2-block gap, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3. This will be where the other bogie would go, and so on and so forth. That's going to be linked together. Now, each car is going to have its own bogie like this, and I think going at least 3 long is going to be more than enough for our train setup. Now for the fun part, designing the actual train cars. How am I going to do this? Now, I think slabs are going to be the base here. So we're going to have this technically a slab off of the ground, and that is going to make it perfect. But I also want this to only be about 3 blocks wide, meaning that the 4th block wide will technically be like panels. I kind of want to keep this thin. So I've been doing just a teensy bit of design work here, trying to make this as small as possible, but also functional as possible, and kind of fit within the area. So I'm utilizing these weathered windows and also copycat corner slices to give this detail, also with some copycat steps. The majority of this, though, is just built out of polished deep slate slabs, which I think look really nice along with all of the other buildings that we've done so far. So the theming is really fitting. Then on the outside, we have our panels, which are connected to walls, which are connected to the window panes. This is actually giving it a little bit of a thin profile, which I don't think you can get any other way besides using walls. But walls also need to connect to something, so that's why the panels here kind of ignore that this looks like this on the outside. Now, as far as doors go, we can utilize these doors right here. And look at that. Oh, that's going to look so nice when this whole thing is said and done. And this weathered iron works really well for these accents. This is working out perfect. And you know what? With it all kind of said and done, this is really starting to give off some very specific vibes, in my opinion. Like very BioShock. This definitely feels BioShock vibey. Now that I've got this all outlined, I can now create a schematic based on this. And then we can use that schematic to place in other train cars, just like this one. By the way, if you're interested in this schematic, you can of course find it over on the Discord in my schematics channel. There's actually a ton of schematics all throughout multiple playthroughs that I've done, so be sure to check that out. You can find the link to the Discord down in the description below. I mean, this is what it's all about. So I'm gonna go ahead and break these. To be able to do the schematic, we put the schematic in, and then we can use, of course, a clipboard. Let's do a regular clipboard. Not one that I have important information on, and we make sure we have all of the items for it. There we go. And it looks like, yeah, we're just missing the seats and also deep slate walls. I'm glad I caught that one. We put the deep slate walls. I'm not worried about the doors as of right now because I'll put the doors in later, but that should be now it. And we just start the schematic. Just let this bad boy roll. And the really cool part about the schematic cannon is if it uses copycat blocks, it'll actually place the blocks that's supposed to be inside the copycats. That's great. Now, another awesome thing that I absolutely forgot is that the schematic cannon can definitely glue contraptions together. But I will include the glued version if you do download it over on the Discord. But as of right now, I've got to get all of these glued in. Just whenever you do save it as a schematic, make sure you glue it first and don't make the mistake I did. Now, if you do happen to glue stuff like this, you may notice that it'll say, hey, by the way, you have some bits that aren't connected. Well, you have to make sure that you get like the sections that you're connecting. You need to make sure there are blocks technically like connecting them together. Otherwise, it won't actually let you glue it all in one go like this. But yes, once we have it glued, I can then remove these points and they'll no longer be a part of the actual glued thing. And there we go. We can now see why the spacing is important and why I wanted like a 2-block gap. These are now divided perfectly, and I'm hoping that when the train is moving on the monorail system, this thing will move around smoothly, especially around corners. Now, before I can form this whole thing into a train, I'm also going to need train controls because trains do not function without train controls. And then we can put a seat in front of it so that way we have a place to sit and control it. Now, this is going to be the front, but I'm also going to put a train control in the back, or I could technically put a train control in the front one like this, but also facing the other side. This will just allow us to reverse this train and make it go faster backwards. But yeah, this one will be the main train controller, I think. All right, so I think I got most of the stuff ready to go in here. I did set these to gray seats to kind of match the theme. I've got my train controls ready to go. All of the seats are set up and all of my doors are in. It looks really nice. There, by the way, are copycat doors, but I still like having these like windowed doors. I really wish we had doors that had like the industrial iron theme to it and also a weather iron style door. Man, maybe they'll add that in the future, or maybe one of these mods will probably add that. After putting some finishing details on all of this, I gotta say, this is looking pretty darn snazzy. I added a little bit of extra over on the top with some copycat slices. I also added some stairs along the outer edge. And yeah, as far as this goes, icing on the cake. Beautiful. But now, moment of truth. We need to assemble the train. Okay, now it says no structure attached to bogey 1. Resolve this and retry. And I'm thinking that is because this has to be glued to the bogey itself. So we just need to take this and glue that together. Same on this one. We click here, glue that together, and finally that together. And these are now glued to the bogey themselves. I still don't know if I want to like connect these in any other fancy way. I still think this is more than enough of a connection, and I kind of like the way that looks, but we'll see. Does it let us assemble it? It does. Oh, and that is beautiful. Now with it assembled, I can set on the seat, and we should be able to move it back and forth. Oh, and look how it's connected like that. That is so sick. And then we connect together. Oh, I'm ready to get this up and running. So I've got the train ready to go. Now it's just ultimately designing the track that this is going to go on. And this, in my opinion, is very difficult to do. So I think when it comes to setting up tracks within Create, it is very, very challenging to get the tracks to be manipulated in a way that you want them to be manipulated in. And so, for example, if I wanted to take this and lead it up into this building, well, it may not even allow me to do that. And so we'll have to come up with some cleverer ways to potentially get this to go. But let's say I want to take this into the building here. Well, I'm going to have to keep in mind the height of the track and the train car itself. So the train car is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, I believe. Yes. And then the actual rail is the 7th block. So it is the exact height of the building section here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We do have to count the ground level. So that means that if I want my train car to be inside of this building, which I do want it to kind of go through here first. I want the first thing to happen is it go through here. We need to keep that in mind. So let's say it comes through this area and potentially hits your head as you're walking up the stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way up here is how tall this actually needs to be. And it needs to be at least 3 blocks tall, give or take. But I'm probably going to change these walls and probably turn them into like slabs. Oh, and it also makes way more sense to change this beam and to possibly have this beam set up differently, you know, maybe supporting the rail. And yes, I'm going to get rid of all of this fancy decoration here. So now let's see if we can even do this. So this is the monorail track, and I want to connect that to this. Oh, and it does work. Oh, and it's going to work so well. Okay, this is beautiful. Now, what I can do is I can smooth this out. If you hold control, it will smooth the transition out a bit. And I actually think I want this to be a smoother transition. Oh, and just look how beautiful that is going to be. And then that is going to get carried all the way through here. And it's going to go through the building. This is great. Now, I know you can do this with train tracks, but what happens if you put an item in your offhand and you extend this? Like, what does it do? Like that turns too sharp, but... Oh, interesting. Okay, so it adds a double girder section underneath, and I'm assuming that it adds those girders as like supports for the outer track. Oh, wow. That's very interesting. But wait, no, it wouldn't be technically supporting any of that. Like, it would be the bogey level that it's covering. I really don't know what that does, but it is interesting that it does place down 2 blocks here. And I would also assume that if you had any other block, it would also place those as well. Now, this part is absolutely wild. So I'm coming up with the solution to be able to take it from the station. We run through here. I want to run through this area, loop around, go this way, and then potentially turn around. And I want to come back through this way. And I want to go through here. So this is going to be kind of interesting trying to fit this. I think I'm going to change the way this looks, but I do want the cart to like run through the roof rail area and then continue on this way through the like city pass and out this way, running up through here like so, and possibly around the building here. And then I want it to work its way back this way until it meets back up again. And this is going to be a task. First major bend is going to be getting it connected here, then connecting it over here, which is going to be interesting. Then from here to here, like give or take, I think this will be pretty good. Right about there. And then here to here, making sure to smooth that connection out. Oh boy, that's going to need some trimming. Then maybe here, right about here, then here, up to here. Then this will connect up to this. Then a really long stretch from here all the way to this end. Now we also have another really long stretch from all the way over there to right here. Then from this connection point up into this. And now we're almost there because we're going to be connecting here into here. Then at this connection point, all the way up to this one. Then last but not least, here, all the way up, back at the start. Oh boy, this has been a lot of tracks. I don't have all of the support beams and decorations fully set up yet, but that is definitely going to be something I want to do. But I'm so excited. I just want to go ahead and get into the train. And I want to give this an initial go and just kind of see what this is like as we take it into different areas. Okay, so yeah, the wall definitely needs to be expanded out here. That's why I think like having those slabs would be really cool. But going through girders, it actually fits beautifully through the girder sections. As it continues on, this is another section I wanted to check out because I kind of cleared it. Just look how the train cars go. So I do need to clear out the tree there. Clear out a little bit more of the walls. Oh, but this fits perfectly. We are going to go through the chain. A little bit of an issue there. Something that I can work on. We continue going through. Oh, this is beautiful. And then the inside view is also something that is very nice. The goal is to have it show up and then depart and then keep looping over and over again. Like, so you can take a ride and get a scenic view if you really want to. And then we pull into the train station. And the ride is over, and we can hop out and continue on our merry way. I love this. Before I start to set up the automatic like ascending of this and having it like kind of go around the base, I do want to set up some lights and like places like this, for example, like these little corner bits. I'm trying to get lights set up on, and I'm using these industrial cages. I think they look rather nice. You just have to click them on. Look at that. So perfect. Now, I do want to set up multiple train stations and have a schedule going where this thing is going to be constantly running. So if I'm going to do that, I need the train to like enter this way, probably like right here. We can place the train station down here. I'm sure that would be fine. Like maybe right here. And I think that's linked, correct? Yes. Okay. So this will be the next train station. We can just, I only need 2 technically on the whole network, and we want it to go to here and then just kind of wrap around, go back to the train station, and then head here and then basically complete that rotation. So I'll go ahead and I will label this Ironworks, and we'll just go ahead and create that station. Now back over at our actual train station, we'll just call this station. This is going to be the station train station. Now we do need a driver, and I just so happened to see this ferret wandering around. I've got to come up with a name for the ferret, but the ferret should be able to be leaded, which should allow us to set it on the seat so it can become a conductor. You know what a good name would probably be, since it is a ferret, like Slink? I think Slink would be great. Okay, so we have our ferret, and we have our ferret named Slink, and whenever we pick that up, okay, we're good. Let's get a lead. And we'll just tie it to the train by connecting the lead and then setting it on the seat that is directly in front of the train controls. Then I need to craft up a train schedule. Now, after having the 2 train stations set up, we can open up our schedule and we can set it to travel to station. And first we're going to say travel to Ironworks, and then it's going to wait a few seconds. And then we're going to say travel back to station. And this is all we wanted to do. We just wanted to keep looping this over and over again. However, when it does get back to station, this is where we can have it wait a little bit. So let's say we'll have it wait a minute or so. I think that is going to be perfect. Like just have it stop for a second. And yeah, it's going to hold here a minute and then continue on through its cycle. And so as soon as we give it, it now has become the conductor. And our train is off, and this is just going to constantly keep going through. And I think this is where this is really going to shine, because it is just so cool seeing something like this moving around the base. Whether it is this monorail or it is just trains in general moving around on train tracks, this is going to add so much life to the area. Absolutely gorgeous. Just look at that. Oh, and it looks like we have a dragonfly that happened to be caught on a seat there as well. This would be so good. Ooh, it would be really cool to just add more mobs to the seats. But yes, this is just going to keep looping around and doing its thing. And now we have a monorail that is constantly around. This is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know. This to me is why I love Create so much. Oh, absolutely fantastic. And then if we want to pop in, we can. Oh, you can't be sleeping on the job. Oh, well, I mean, so now I've taken some time to get a little bit more decorating done. I've got the actual circles now filled out. I got some more support beams placed in. And I just think overall, this turned out better than I thought. Like that right there is gorgeous looking. Just getting to see this thing literally go around the base. Absolutely love it. And you know what? I think this entire world has just turned out to be way better than I could have ever imagined. And it's just because I took everything one step at a time. And I think I'll be definitely utilizing this style in the future. So you know what? I think it might be a good idea to maybe grab a window seat, hop into the train, and just get to experience this from the perspective of maybe somebody who might pop on and want to ride the train. So guys, with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And guys, give this video a huge thumbs up. And of course, without further ado, it's time for me to thank the amazing supporter that makes these episodes possible. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Mud Skipper Broodlord. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible, making extended episodes into series like this even possible. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.